Chapter 1. Busted. The Liberty Tree Mall was our last stop. It sits right off Route 128 in Danvers, Massachusetts. Its big anchor stores rising up flat and square like stackable Lego blocks. At one end was a Sears with tools and tires, appliances and overalls, and at the other a Leachman store with displays of shiny new luggage and sporting goods, jewelry, as well as an electronics section, and most important, a record department. We pulled into the lot, away from the hum of highway traffic, headed south toward Canton or Braintree, or looping around toward Boston itself. One of my good friends was riding shotgun in the car. One of his buddies was driving. Both were a couple of years older than me, and both were basketball players. I was sitting in the back seat. I was 13, a few months shy of 14, but I was already closing in on 5'11". My hair hung long, skimming over my shoulders, drooping into my eyes. I was lucky in that moment. Not lucky that I was along for the day. I had been hanging around these guys for a couple of years, shooting hoop, going to their parties, sipping their beer. That afternoon, I was lucky I wasn't the one driving. We parked, rolled up the windows, hit the locks of the car, and then shuffled across the baking asphalt. The air was hot. That sticky, humid July heat where the sky turns thick and white and presses back down upon you until each breath seems liquid, like sucking pool water into your lungs. The weather was why we weren't on the basketball court. Another reason was that when both guys woke up in the morning, they had decided that they wanted some records. I wanted some too. I had a few records, but all my friends owned dozens and dozens. We had already been in 2 record stores that day in another mall, but there was one more inside the sprawling sections of Leachmere, beyond the luggage displays and jewelry counters that beleaguered husbands crowded around when it got close to the holidays. We ambled through the store in the air-conditioned cool, beneath the bright fluorescent lights, which made it impossible to tell afternoon from evening. I had on overalls, blue and white railroad stripes, with a big front placket. I called them farmer pants, but my mom or I had most likely found these in a surplus store or a discount bin. On top, I wore my junior high basketball jacket, a bright red nylon with a heavy lining for the damp, bleak Massachusetts winters. It had our team's emblem, the Wakefield Warrior, a big Indian chief in profile with a full feather headdress stamped across the front. If there was a moment when life became premeditated, it was when I got dressed that morning. We walked into the store and went over to look at the music arranged alphabetically. A for America, B for Beatles or Bee Gees, C for Creedence Clearwater Revival, D for The Doors. They were the small 45s with one song on either side, but we wanted albums. Although the radios played Elton John, Steely Dan, and the Steve Miller Band, our taste ran to hard, searing guitar rock like Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and Deep Purple, or the pounding, mournful songs of Jim Morrison. Morrison's Riders on the Storm echoed in my mind. I followed, and after they had thumbed through the stacks, I noted what they had chosen, what was cool. My friends headed off to another area of the store, but I stayed behind. After checking around, I leaned in, unfastened the 2 side buttons of my overalls, and slipped an album behind the jacket. Then another, and another, and another after that. I could comfortably carry 5. The cellophane covers slid easily against each other, and the thick mass came to rest on my stomach. Trying to look nonchalant, I popped the metal buttons back through their holes, zipped the jacket, and began to amble out of the store. The other guys had already left, and they were waiting for me in the parking lot. I was almost to the doorway. Perhaps I was even grinning. Suddenly, a man's hand reached out and patted my back. Instinctively, I stopped, and that same man said, "Hey, it's awfully hot out today." I tilted my head, which was angled down, and looked out through the thick fringe. He was wearing regular street clothes, but still, my heart began to pound. "Yeah, it is," I managed to reply. "What are you doing?" he asked me. I mumbled, "Just hanging out." Then the man's hand slipped around my shoulder and gave 3 hard pats on my stomach. There was no mistaking the clean-cut cardboard edges or the hard feel of the album covers. "I'm store security," he said. "Why don't you come with me?" I had the sickening feeling that he had probably been watching me in my winter jacket the entire time.